This is Bleav In Buckeyes. I'm Bryant, all the man quarterback Chimdi Chekwa. We had a game at the show. It was a night game, man. We had UCLA come out from the West Coast, man, and made them boys play at night in the shoe. Went well for us. We won 40-10. Not so good for them. But Chim, man, how you doing, man? What's going on?
I'm doing good. And, you know, the night game, one of the things about the night games, it really helps recruit. All right, so you have big-time recruits there. Some guys committed as well. Ohio State's been on a little bit of a run with the recruits. But it's kind of crazy. The night games, you get Ohio University, you get UCLA, right?
Yep.
But hey, a night game in the shoe is a night game in the shoe. It was Veterans Game, and I was able to get tickets to my mother-in-law who served. Right?
Oh, so, yeah, that's nice, man.
Yeah, so but good win, big win for Ohio State. I'm ready for the next week.
Hey, man, we still got to talk about the game a little bit. So first off, UCLA, I'm going to say their quarterback. I was going to say their star quarterback, but, he's having a little bit up and down the year. Nico couldn't play due to being in the concussion protocol. So I guess right when that news came out, we knew UCLA probably wouldn't bring much to the table. But, man, I don't know. Overall, the game felt a little sleepy to me. I don't know. I could make an argument that it felt like maybe both teams didn't want to be out there. But obviously, we took care of business on the scoreboard, being led. Essentially, really, Julian Sayin played, probably his most, I hate to say bad game, but his least dominant game of the season, I would say so far. But our running game kind of stepped up and kind of kept the pedal to the gas.
Yeah, and, from Julian Sayin, I don't know how the numbers shook out in terms of, how many completions he had, but it might have been one of his lowest games in terms of completion percentage. And some of that was because you had some key guys at receiver that were out, right? Obviously, Carnell, Tate, Jeremiah Smith was honestly coming out of this game. That might be the biggest story is, are those receivers, or how serious are the injuries for those guys, which I don't think, even though Jeremiah Smith was visibly limping on the sideline.
Yeah, right.
I think maybe you hold him out from a precautionary standpoint this week. But I think both guys are going to be all right. But you had guys like Marlon Graham, Bryson Rogers, Brandon Ennis got a lot of targets in this game, who had to step in the chemistry, specifically for like a Marlon Graham. You saw him, they tried to get him the ball in different ways. The same type of routes that you're used to seeing Carnell Tate get, you saw Marlon Graham get, and it didn't work out the same way. Some of that is just, reps, right? Chemistry. And I think that's positive. Being able to get another guy in there to run those routes and work through whatever challenges they need to work through. Because at the end of the day, I should say, there's a lot of season left. There's a lot of games left, and we're going to need these guys, going down the stretch.
Yeah, right. That's hit on the head. This is football, right? Guys get injured in football. Obviously, this season,
100%.
We've been pretty fortunate when it comes to the injury department, but now we're kind of getting towards, and we know everything is leading up to this Michigan game at the end of the month, and we want to put our best foot out there. So you don't want to see, Carnell Tate missing games and Jeremiah Smith be, having to take time out the game. But Coach Day said, nothing appears to be very major at this point in time. So you hoping, it's minor tweaks. It's football. Maybe, you're feeling a little tight. Maybe, you tweak the ankle or something like that. And Sayin that literally tweaked his ankle in the game, right?
Yeah.
That might have, played a little bit role in his performance. But, hopefully we got 2 weeks until the big one. We got Rutgers this week. You got to be locked in for Rutgers. We'll get there. But, I just say this game just felt a little sleepy. Julian Sayin, stats-wise, it went 23 of 31. And that's only 74%, man. So, he had been 80% for the season, down to 74% this week. So, wasn't his stronger performance. But, our running backs had a pretty game. Another game, we kind of running back by committee. C.J. Donaldson was out. So, Bo Jackson led the way with 15 carries for 112 yards. He had a touchdown. Isaiah West, 8 carries for 61 yards. He had a touchdown. And then James Peoples also had 6 carries for 42 yards, and he had 2 touchdowns. all three of those guys averaged 7 yards a carry, which you could tip your cap to that, right?
Yeah, I mean, the run game is probably the one thing that's a little bit more in focus, considering we know we have an elite passing game. And to Julian Sayin's credit, even some of the misses, deep post to Molly Graham, a couple others, they were on target. Sometimes defense makes a play, right? And there was a one deep pass in the red zone where I felt like Molly Graham needed to stay further outside. I think it's kind of just working through being able to get more reps, and then kind of looking at the film and saying, okay, here's what I need to do better. But overall, it was an opportunity for a lot of guys to play. Even in the end, you had a new quarterback come in and Lincoln Kingholz, who also looked good. I was glad
Yeah,
to see him get out there, get some
went three
rest. He
for
ran a
three.
dude
Yep.
over, talked some
Yep.
trash, went out there, threw some completions, and he looked pretty good. Like, it was good to see guys get opportunities outside of the starting guys who, we may potentially need these guys down the stretch to go out there and make some plays.
Yeah, no, that's just right. That's how it goes. So it's good that those younger guys got some reps. You got some multiple guys on the O line that got to play. Shout out to Gabe Van Sickle. He went in at that right guard position. Had a really strong game in the run game. He was locking on to guys, finishing blocks. Shout out to him. And just shout out to the team, right? This was really a team game because a lot of people got to play, and most people was up for the task. It just felt like, for our top end guys, it wasn't the most banger bust. I seen Coach Day, catching Julian Sayin on the sideline a couple of times with some angry looks and talks, kind of,
I love it.
coaching them up on some things. But that's what's needed. We need these guys to stay engaged. Obviously, UCLA didn't have much to bring to the table, so the score is what the score was. But we got to lock in. We're building up on something here at Ohio State, and it's not just being the UCLA's of the world. It's getting to that Big Ten championship game, winning it, get into the playoffs, and making a run there
So
as
I,
well.
I have a question for you real quick. So
Yep.
prior to the game, Jeremiah Smith was listed as questionable. Would you have, and he came out in warmups, he looked like he was moving fluid, he looked like he was moving good, right? Would you have played him, given that there's something that led to him being questionable, right? Questionable is different than probable, right?
Yeah.
So questionable means, he's dealing with something that's been a little bit of nagging, and there's a good chance that we might not play him in this game.
Yeah, I mean, if he wants to play, you play him. He's one of your top end guys. He has to understand his body. Right? We already know what he could do as a player, but also with that, he has to understand, what he could do. So if he's feeling like
Yeah.
he's willing to go, you ask, "Hey, how you doing? You ready? Can you play?" You say, "Yeah." You play him, and you see how it goes from there. Obviously he had still 4 catches for 40 yards. He still had a highlight catch on the sideline, right, with the one head grab. Because
Yeah.
that's just what he brings to the table. But after that, they kind of shut it down. So, you know, um, yeah, I play the guy. This is football, right? There's no saving it for later, right? We need you to,
Right.
to execute time and time again. Once we get up by 40 points, then yeah, we can pull you out to put other guys in there. But you don't just sit your guys because you don't try to say your guys. If they feel like they could go, you let them go, and then you worry about how things go after that from that standpoint, in my
All
opinion.
right, so next question now. So did you see him
Okay.
limping on the sideline? You saw him
I
limping?
did. I did. I
Now,
seen him lipping on
would you,
seen him lipping on the
based on
sideline.
that, would
Yep.
you play him versus Rutgers?
Versus Rutgers. It depends on what we're dealing with here, right? We both played the game, right? If it's a muscle pull, a strain, calf, hamstring,
Yeah, you
you
gotta
he
shut it
needs some
down.
time. Like you just it's one of those things that, and and as a fact, I used to pull my hamstring to and throw that out there because I had bad hips. But when you pull a muscle like that, though, it's not the most painful thing in the world. You're right. It's like you feeling it, and you're like, it's not. It don't hurt that bad, but you just can't go. Right. You just
Right.
literally can't go as fast as you would like to go. If it's a twisted ankle that has you limping, that's different, right? You got some swelling in it. You can work that swelling out. You could go out there and really play close to your same game while dealing with that swelling or, how's it work in, it is more painful. But once you get to a
Right.
point that you could go, you can continue to go and it doesn't really affect your play. So it depends on what it is. And obviously it's Ohio State. This is college. We don't really get an injury report. Obviously we could visually see him limping. I can't even tell you which leg was causing the limp, or was it a leg, a knee, a foot? You can't quite say, but it depends on what it is. But you trust your guy, you trust your staff. Hey, it's Ohio State. We got the best of everything, right? What are they saying? What's going on? Can he hurt himself even more by trying to go out there and go? And if not, you play him. If so, maybe give him a break.
Yeah, that's the key, right? If it's a muscle pull, which it seems like it's not, because Carnell Tate had some tightness in the hamstring, and he's been out for 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Which tells you, like, if it's an actual risk of a muscle pull, they're holding you out, because if you pull that muscle, I mean, it could be a month. It could be a month and a half. Like, it's hard to, even if it doesn't hurt that much, it could linger for a long time. But if it's a bruise, a thigh bruise, for instance, you could be limping really, really bad, but once you get that thing warmed up, you can go out there and play the game. But then when you wake up in the morning, you might not be able to walk for a little bit, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I imagine, whatever the injury it's not super serious. It is probably something that can lead to some pain. But yeah, I mean, that's football. All right. You're gonna have
That's
some pain
football.
in football. Right. So
That's football.
I feel positive. I do think versus Rutgers, you really want to get up and you want to get guys out and you want to get some of the younger guys some reps, some experience, and get ready for that next week, which I'm ready for now, by the way.
Yeah, man. But bro, man, you can't sleep on Rutgers, man. Rutgers is a proudful bunch. They're playing 5-5. Look, I looked this up. Obviously, I look up stats and stuff before we get on the show, but I think this is kind of surprising. Okay, I can't say the quarterback. Now I'm not even gonna try. It's like I ain't getting into it, but he has more passing yards, than Julian Sayin. He has 2,700. Okay. Julian Sayin has 26. They have 1,000-yard rusher. Our top rusher still only has 700 yards. They have a receiver in Duff who has 920 yards receiving. When our top guys, Jeremiah Smith, he only has 900. They got. I mean, obviously that's the story. Rutgers is 5-5. They are what their record is, but they got some guys, man, and we know that they got a coach that in Shiano that used to be on Ohio State staff. He's still itching. I don't think he hasn't beaten Ohio State yet since he took a head job elsewhere. But Rutgers will be prideful. They're not going to lay down. You got to be ready to play these guys because they can't get you.
Yeah. So what I heard was all offensive stats, and they're 5-5. So you know what that means? Barbecue chicken on defense. That means if Jeremiah Smith is playing, I don't know who's stopping him. Now, Shiano is a defensive coach, and he's a pretty good defensive coach, right? So I imagine they got something, depending on what their personnel is. They got something, right? They're gonna play tough, right? They're gonna have some level of heart, some level of toughness, but I don't think they have the guys. I hate to look past, as a player, you're taught never to look past an opponent. But what's crazy? I'm not a player anymore. I'm a fan, man. And I am so ready for the Michigan game. And listen, I don't want to say this, but this is all that I can think of. I'm guaranteeing a win versus Michigan in the big house this year.
All right.
I like the approach that's been taken offensively all season and kind of being a little bit more methodical, right? Getting into the right play, every single offensive play being important. If we don't do well, it's like it's amplified because we're not having as many plays. We're not doing the hurry up offense. We're not, trying to score 60, 70 points. We're taking our time, and every single play matters, because to me, that's the approach to beating Michigan. That's how they play football. And by the time they get to that game, they become really good at executing each and every play. And I think for me, the challenge has been in the past is that we're used to hurry up offense, getting up, etc. And we're not used to one play being so important. We're not used to that one play having so much pressure to do everything right. And I think the approach this year gets us prepared for a Michigan game. And I feel like I'm more concerned about Michigan than I am about Indiana. I just feel like the matchup versus Michigan is a tougher matchup than versus Indiana. I think it's a matchup thing. I think Indiana is a talented team. But I think matchup wise, we match up well versus Indiana. And I think this year, with how the coaches are approaching it, you talk about Ryan Day yelling at Julian Sayin when he comes to the sideline. I mean, he's locked in. He's trying to figure out every way to keep guys motivated. He increased the what it takes to grade out as a champion from 80% to like 83%. He understands that, every single play is important. We're going to keep guys competitive. If we're not getting the job done, we're going to put somebody else in. So I like it overall. And I thought, UCLA, not a great team, right? Not in a great position without their starting quarterback. But, I did think the team continued to play hard all the way throughout the end of the game. And I think that's a testament to how they're approaching football this year.
All right, listen, winter is here, and in my house, Chim, that means one thing for sure. Someone is going to get a runny nose.
Facts. I'm handing out tissues like game day towels, bro.
And that's why my whole family is covered by Bleav vitamins.
Yeah, Bryant keeps everybody's immune system ready, even that one kid who thinks their sleeves are the napkins, for real.
Hey, man, don't talk about my son like that.
Hey, I didn't name any names, man.
But look, as a former Buckeye and NFL guys, we know how to prepare for tough matchups, and winter games are no different.
So we take it on as a team.
If you want your family to stay healthy this winter, get on the Bleav plan.
And because you're part of our Buckeye family, use the code TEAMFAMILY for 25% off your entire order.
Got to take care of your squad.
Stay healthy, stay winning, and go Bucks.
Let's go on some Buckeyes, man. We're jumping ahead. We're talking about Rutgers and senior day that's coming. That's going to be a very emotional day. We're going to have some seniors leaving us and also some underclassmen, right, who probably played their way into being a high draft pick. This might be their last game in the shoe. But let's go back to the game and give out Buckeyes. Do you got anyone that stood out in your mind here that's deserving?
Yeah, I thought a few guys played well. But I'm actually going to start out on special teams. I've been hard on special teams this year. I give them a D at the.
Yes, you have. I think they must have sat down and watched this show, man. They've been locked in ever since, man. As a unit, like, hey.
And we showed love to Jay Fielding last week, and Jaden Fielding should get love this week. He had another field goal that he made,
40-yard plus. Yep.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna cheat a little bit. I'm gonna give the Buckeye to the kickoff return team, man.
Okay.
They executed. I think it was the third quarter. We're already up by like 30-something points or whatever. The game's basically over, right? I see, Brandon Ennis out there on kickoff return. He's had a big game so far. A lot of targets. He's been very productive on offense. Now he's an off returner. You have Lorenzo Styles who's getting a return. Everybody locked in on a guy. Everybody working hard on that kickoff return. Sideline return to the left. You see Brandon Ennis as a lead blocker, as an off returner, lock on his man, and then continue to run all the way down the field with Lorenzo Styles. I just like the way they played so hard in that position, in that situation where the game's basically over, right?
Yeah.
So you got to walk on that field and you got to take pride in what you're doing. And to me, that's kind of the makeup of a championship team, right? You can tell by how they execute on special teams, how important every small thing and every small detail is. And to take that kickoff return 100 yards, it wasn't just Lorenzo Styles making a bunch of guys miss. It was executing this sideline left return. Everybody execute and everybody, run down there with them and celebrate. So shout out to the special teams. And I think all phases of special teams, you can see the improvement and the attention to detail. And I think that shows a difference. A captain in like Brandon Ennis going out there, blocking on a kickoff return after having a big game at receiver, it kind of shows the type of leadership they have in that locker room.
Yeah, and another thing on that, I heard that they just installed that return this week. So just learned to put the install in, and then you go out and execute. Obviously, at the highest level, Lorenzo Styles could have gotten a little bit of hot water because he caught it in the end zone. Usually, they like to kind
Right.
of
It took
turn
it
that to
up.
touchback, but he said he had to turn it to a touchdown, and he did. I mean, obviously, they like you say, they executed to perfection. And it was a big play at a big time, right? If we talking about a kickoff return, I mean, the other team to score some points, right? So
Right.
you
Right.
get that momentum
Right.
going in the right direction. No better way than taking back the kickoff to for a touchdown. But for my Buckeyes, I'm gonna cheat a little bit like you as well. You gave it to a unit. I'm gonna give it to two people. First, gonna go to our right tackle, Philip Daniels. Just had another stellar game. I think our offensive line this week early in the, UCLA did some things. They got some pressure, right? They got a couple of hits on Julian Sayin, and I think they registered a sack or so. Sayin even twisted his ankle after getting pushed down after letting the ball go. But that's part of the game. But Phillip he's just been solid all season, right? We was excited when we got him out the transfer portal, him being Ohio kid, returning home. Also, I was really excited that he had the experience of just playing in the Big Ten already for a season and him kind of bringing that to our line. He's been playing solid all season. This week was no different. I think he graded out the highest. If you're looking at like the PFF rating for the offensive unit. So I wanted to give him a stat, give him a Buckeye. And also I wanted to give one to James Peoples. James Peoples, like I said, I think he had 6 carries for 40 some yards. We had 2 touchdowns. And he had the highlight runs, right? He had a hurdle. He made some guys
Yeah.
miss. And if you James Peoples, like, he started off the season obviously as RB1. And obviously, we did some shaking up, and now he's kind of really in the 3-4 spot, right? We kind of
Yeah.
get the ball to CJ in certain situations in the red zone. We're playing Isaiah Westmore, true freshman, two true freshmen kind of leading the way when it comes to the number of carries. And if it's me, it's easy to go to a stumper here, right? Like I
Right.
thought the season number 1. Now
Yeah.
I'm back here. I only get a few carries a game. But obviously that just goes to, once again, the program that we have here at Ohio State. He's remaining locked in. You got to remember, this is just year 2 for James People. He played a tad bit as a true freshman. This year, we're expecting a lot more from him, and he's doing something with opportunity. But I feel like he's been showing his growth, his maturity, and just kind of being his understanding with how he could be more successful as a running back and making guys actually miss once he has some space, as we saw this past Saturday and him scoring his 2 touchdowns. So Buckeyes to those guys.
Yeah, big game. I always thought James Peoples, it was more so like having a feel for it, his vision and things like that. But he looked impressive. Like he looked
Yeah.
like a legit starting running back. I also want to shout out some of the young receivers. I thought Quincy Porter, I thought Bryson Rogers had a good game as well.
Caught a
Marlon
touchdown.
Graham had some, had some opportunities as well. He did well in some spots. I think him and Sayin got to get on a better page. I think that's going to be important. I think defensively, some of those young guys got to improve. I think they got to improve, and I thought this UCLA game is a good opportunity to watch the film and improve, because the playoffs, you need everybody. Right? There's an opportunity for anything can happen. Guy can go down, and we need that next guy not to have a target on his back for the offense. But yeah, this guy hasn't got it right. So I think there's gonna be. I think this UCLA film is gonna be good film for the young defensive players to watch and get better, and then they may get another opportunity here versus Rutgers.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But Rutgers, they're coming to play. But let's talk about the status of college football a little bit. First off, shout out to James Franklin. Obviously, it's Penn State. You got your saying on Penn State. But James Franklin is able to land a gig at Virginia
Yeah,
Tech. Seems like a
the,
good
the
spot for
perfect
both
match.
parties. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
a perfect
Uh,
match. James Franklin, who has the ability to turn a program around and put them in the conversation for sure. And Virginia Tech, who is starving to be in the conversation. So I think it's a good match for both parties.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not gonna say in a year. Let's say 3 or 4 years, he's able to get him a team together and make a real push for getting into the playoffs. Alabama lost. Alabama lost to Oklahoma, and I guess I just got to tip my cap to you. We don't do a lot of shouting outs, but man, you hit that one on the head. You've been saying this for multiple weeks when you looked at the schedule, and
M-
obviously you said it
mul-
last week as well. And Chim no
Multiple
ball, I
weeks.
guess.
They were for sure on upset alert. Obviously, LSU wasn't going to be the team to get it done. Oklahoma was a tough matchup for them. They just dropped back too much, and this is why I don't think Alabama's a real contender for a national championship. A really good team. They got a really good quarterback in Ty Simpson. They rely way too much on him to complete these passes. They have a ton of dropbacks. They can't run the ball. They can't stop the run. Great red zone defense and a lot of turnovers can only get you so far. Because the one game where you don't turn the ball over a lot, and you're playing against a good defensive line, guess what? You're going to turn the ball over because you also can't run the ball. So I think Alabama's one of those teams that on any given Saturday they can beat you with some scheme, but they're not real true national championship contenders. That's just my opinion.
Got you. So, all right, one more thing I want to hit here because obviously this is early in the week. Tomorrow we'll have some new rankings when it comes to the college football playoffs. But I just want to get your take on this. So, obviously, when it comes down to it, if you go undefeated, you're going to get into the playoffs. If you're in the Big Ten or the SEC, you got one loss, you're getting to the playoffs. It's sealed, right? But the conversation starts to come in when you start to look at the 2-loss teams and maybe a 3-loss SEC team, because almost like the SEC almost get a bye for having, they get 1 week off. They get to maybe have 3 losses compared to other teams. But it's interesting that we're talking about Miami and Notre Dame. Now, Notre Dame has 2 losses. Right, they lose the first 2 games of the season to Texas A&M and to Miami. Miami has 2 losses. They lose to Louisville, who's a 7-3 team, so not a bad team, and they also lose to SMU, who made the playoffs last season, and also once again 7-3. So we're talking about 2, decent teams here. The way the rankings are currently set up, Miami's 15th. I think Notre Dame is like 9th. So if the playoffs will start today, Miami played Notre Dame. They beat them. But Notre Dame looks like they're the team that would actually get into the playoffs right now while Miami would be on the outside looking in. It's not fair. Does that make any sense? They played them. I beat them. Put some sense to it, Chimp.
Yeah, I mean, it's humans making these rankings at the end of the day. This is why I say there's no point in going and playing a top team early, right? Because if you beat the top team, nobody cares about it. And by the time October rolls around, nobody cares that Ohio State beat Texas. Oh, Texas wasn't really that good back then. Oh, okay. Well, they were just ranked 10 last week. Oh, yeah, but they weren't that good back then. Nobody cares that Miami beat Notre Dame. It doesn't matter, right? So why even risk playing a team and having an additional loss when the loss sticks with you throughout the season? However, you don't actually get a ton of credit for the win. Florida State beat Bama. When these rankings come out, Bama's going to be ranked higher than Miami. Miami is in the same conference as Florida State, and Florida State is at the bottom of the conference. Miami has beat Notre Dame. USF went and beat the SEC team that Miami destroyed USF, right? And now, recently, they're playing good football as well. They had a little bit of a lull in the middle of the schedule, but they're coming off these big wins. They got a bunch of transfer guys. These guys probably out partying in Miami, right? And now they're back refocused. But we don't look at them the same because of losses in the middle of the season. I don't think it's fair. But at the end of the day, when teams don't play each other, it's not going to be fair, right? It's a judgment call, and the judgment right now is that the SEC is good, the ACC is not good. So with the same amount of losses, we're going to look at Louisville, Virginia, and all these teams in the ACC as not good, and the Vanderbilts and the Tennessees and the Missouris we're going to look at as good. If we flip that perspective, it changes the entire conference. So it's just interesting dynamic.
But now you're rewarding a team that's not even in the conference, though. Notre Dame's not in the conference, right? They don't have the, obviously they play certain teams every year, but, essentially they pick and choose who they play and when they play. They don't have that pressure. So, I don't know. It's almost like you're rewarding them for twofold. You're rewarding them because maybe the eye test. And I'm saying, when watching the games, I'm more concerned about Notre Dame this point of the year than Miami.
They look good.
But we played them. Miami played them, beat them. We're in the conference. You can say however you feel about our conference, But no matter how you feel about our conference, we're in one. So we got certain things and trading information. You got to see these guys year in and year out. You know each other a little bit more chance for an upset to happen compared to guys who don't have to essentially go through that. I don't know. It's not, I don't know. In my opinion, it's not fair. The head-to-head matches should matter a little bit more. But I don't know. I remember one time I feel like the head-to-head matchup went in our favor one year, right? Or something like that. With But I don't know, man. But it's just, this is interesting how things land, man. But I don't know.
Yeah, it don't matter if it's that early, typically, depending on how they view the conference that you're playing in. So
yeah,
it's an interesting dynamic. I would just not schedule the hard game early. I'd build up, and beat a team in October. And then, however my schedule is plays out, it plays out from there. Because that's gonna get you the highest rank. That big October win in the middle of the schedule is gonna get you highly ranked, and then from then on, you're a highly ranked team. So
yeah, Coach Signetti would call that the SEC approach. Yeah, man. But yeah, man. But shout out to Notre Dame. Shout out to our guy Khalil Terry. We played with his father, Kirk Terry, here at Ohio State. He recently committed to Notre Dame over this past weekend. So shout out to them for that. And shout out to our recruits. Ohio State has landed so many recruits. We can't even keep up with them, but but they definitely landing guys, flipping guys left and right. Now we got a tight end recently, a defensive end here that will be coming and joining our 26 class. So, I mean, shout out for working during the season, I guess.
Yeah, those are big recruits, DBs that was much needed, edge rushers that was much needed. Ohio State is back in position to continue to do what they always do. Really,
they always do. Right. Reload and not rebuild. Right. But that's our show for the week. Obviously, we'll be bringing you more news for this Rutgers game, even though Chim might already be in Michigan week over there.
I guarantee a win versus Michigan this year. Guarantee.
We need to guarantee a win versus Rutgers first, man. But as always, man, this show is brought to you guys by FanDuel. Follow us on all platforms. We're gonna always end this show with a nice OH.
Yo.
Go Bucks. Talk to you guys soon.
Go Bucks.